Is that? Oh, it goes away. Huh. Always learning something new when you put it on horizontal. My name is Michael Hicks. I am the host with the most here on Framing New Heights. Super excited to bring on our guest. But before I bring on our guest, words from our sponsor. Can't sleep, got the aches and pains. In fact, you were just messaging me about this. You got to check out this CBD oil. It's Amish tested. It will take care of those aches and pains, and you get a better night's sleep. How many of you just like are struggling with sleep? I swear by this product. Put 9 drops underneath your tongue. And the best part is, if you're a Framing New Heights listener, you get 50% out or 50% off at checkout just by entering New Heights. Go to, I messed up the website the last time. Go to superfungummies.com and put in the CBD oil, and you get 50% off any product at checkout just by putting in New Heights. And this is also a wonderful opportunity to talk to a little bit about my Live to Thrive life coaching. I've been doing this now for an extensive amount of time, and I've got something super special that's coming out, and you got to check it out. It's a July promo where it's a reset reboot. Reset your mindset, you reset your body, and discover your purpose once again. Get in alignment with who you truly are. If you truly want more information on this, I really only got 8 more spots left already. I haven't even officially promoted it yet. I did just on a schedule today. I dropped something out there. But if you truly want to see transformation, it's $99, 3 months, the lowest price you'll ever see in the existence of Live to Thrive. Well, enough about that. I want to bring a very important guest on today's show. What's really cool is as I was scrolling through social media, I ran into Amy Kandetzke, and she is, I'm not going to tell you who she is because she's going to explain to our audience as well. But Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Who I am. All right. Well, I am a wife, a mom of 3 kids. I'm a nurse. I am a hormone specialist, and I am the CEO of Optimal Health Solutions.
And we are going to dive into that today. I'm excited about that. All right. You ready for a tough question right away?
Yep.
All right, cool. So who were you before your health unraveled? Because that's kind of been like your whole story, your whole motto. And how did you reconcile the loss of that identity?
Wow, that is a hard question.
Yeah, well, but it's interesting because I want everybody to kind of know your story and your background, and like we all have struggles. And as a life coach now, like I have been the lowest of low, like contemplating not even living here, and now I have a beautiful daughter, a beautiful business, a beautiful house. I can do things like this and provide value to people. But I'm sure there was something. Oh, let me do this. Let me reframe it. When was the moment in your life where you had that aha moment of like, something is just not clicking. I need to change something. When did that really happen for you?
I would say when my health started to deteriorate. After my second child was when I was in chronic pain. I was definitely a completely different person at that time in 2014. I was living in chronic pain. I kept getting sick over and over and over again. Lots of sinus infections. I ended up in the hospital many, many times, and no one could figure out what was wrong with me.
Wow.
And I went, I saw so many different doctors and specialists, and they diagnosed me with lupus and Sjogren's and fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
And, I didn't wake up and I wasn't happy. I woke up and I was like, I just went to work and
went through the motions.
Yeah, there was no purpose. There was no drive. There was no alignment. In fact, everything felt out of alignment. And it felt like I was, my mother-in-law put it this way, and it just kind of all made sense. It felt like I was climbing up a hill and a boulder was just pushing me back down every single day.
Yeah. Almost like 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing. Well, that's a really powerful story, and I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm going off script already, how has that really kind of morphed into who you are today? Like you were living this like less or no joy life, right? And now it sounds like you have more purpose, more enjoyment of life. You're happy. Like when you look back at the old Amy compared to where you are now, what would you say to the old Amy?
I would say that you are capable of anything and everything you want in life,
I love it. I love it.
and that abundance is possible for you. Because at that
Mm,
time,
mm.
I thought I could only have health, I could only be a mom,
Yeah.
I could only have a career, I couldn't have all of it, I could only,
Mm,
you know, reach this level financially,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it really wasn't until I was forced to quit my job
Your
and
nursing job,
my
right?
nursing job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about explore the grief of leaving because one of the
Hmm.
things that I do as a life coach is I really help people because I don't know if you're aware of this in our audience, maybe you are. I maybe repeat sometimes on my podcast. There are more heart attacks that happen on Mondays than any other day of the week. And it's generally happening in the process of people getting ready for work on Monday, right? They got the Sunday blues,
Yeah.
right? They're driving to work on Monday, sticking up the middle finger when they get cut off, right?
Hmm.
Like literally, and just hating life. So the question I have for you is like, because that's scary too, right? A transitional time of leaving something that is got a paycheck, right? Associated. So kind of explore the grief of leaving your nursing role.
Absolutely. There was a lot of grief. And my husband had to write my resignation letter for me
Oh wow.
because I refused to quit. But my health was so bad that I was calling off of work like every single week because I was so chronically sick. And he's like, "That's it, you're done."
Yeah.
And it's because I went back to school to be I was a personal trainer and exercise instructor and did all that, and then I went back to school for nursing, did an accelerated bachelor's for that, and I worked so hard
For sure.
to
To
get
get
to
to that
where I
point.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as a nurse, it's like you got to do the worst shifts, the
In the
grunt
beginning,
work
yeah, yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
work your way into like
For sure.
normal day
For
shifts, right?
sure. Yeah.
So it's like I didn't want to backpedal and have to go through that again. But he was very supportive, and he was
Good.
just like, "We're gonna figure it out. Like
Awesome.
financially, we will figure it out. You need to quit, and you need to put your health first."
So it's really a leap of faith and a
It was.
trust that you were like, it's kind of like doing a trust fall and hoping that someone catches you, right? Because it's a big faith there. Let's talk a little bit about your faith. How important is your faith to you?
Very
Yeah.
at this time.
Okay.
It
At that
wasn't
particular
at
time?
that time. It
Oh,
wasn't.
interesting.
It
Okay.
was. It wasn't really at that time.
Okay.
Now it is. Now
Yeah.
it's a big part of my
What changed your faith perspective?
life.
Like what was it?
Well, I mean, I grew up Catholic,
Okay.
and I really just didn't feel completely aligned with the Catholic religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, my kids were baptized, and, we had gone to church here and there, but I just didn't feel aligned with it. And it really wasn't until right before COVID that I found like a non-denominational church that I was like, wow, this is a whole
Way
different
different.
world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really
Yeah.
feel aligned with it. And
That's awesome.
that's where I go now too.
It's interesting because yeah, I'm part of Life Church and I was
Oh
just
yes, that's where I went.
yeah in Germantown and it's a little bit
That's
of a
where I
drive.
went.
Really?
Germantown.
Yeah. Wow,
Yes.
that's a small. Wow, that's crazy. I recently in December I took the vow to get baptized.
Okay. Great.
That's always been a struggle with me because I grew up in Missouri Synod, right? And we were taught growing up, and then I went to a Lutheran high school, went to a Lutheran or a Lutheran college, and then for my master's was Catholic. What I'm getting at though is they always said to us is, well, once you're baptized, you're already good, you're already saved. And then as I was reading more biblically about everything, it's like as an adult, it's another opportunity to kind of share everybody about your faith journey and the reason why you're being baptized. So I did that. I did that. And it was one, I mean, I just got to tell you into my audience, it was just one of the most beautiful things that I have ever experienced. Because we all go through dark moments and dark times, and to really publicly affirm your belief. And for me, it's Jesus Christ. So love that, love that, love that. So I know for me now though, it's like a long drive. So I'll like watch it on TV,
Sure.
or I've been hitting up Crossroads in Sheboygan now that I live over here. Um, all right, going on to the next question. What internal narratives or beliefs did you have to unlearn to truly start healing? Because your story, and this is the reason why I brought you on my podcast as well, is your story. You literally were sick, right? You're going to all these doctors and these hospitals, and I'm going to be honest, I'm going to give you a public announcement. Most of them don't know blank. They really don't. They think they do, and I think they're really good at like major things, but like when it comes to this stuff, it's like
Mhm.
it's like a crapshoot.
Mhm.
So what was the like? How did you unlearn to truly start healing? Like, what was the process?
It really wasn't until I quit my job when I found functional medicine. It really, I had to go through that whole conventional, like, you're not getting answers, you're not getting answers. Here's more medicine, here's more
Yeah,
medicine.
yeah, big pharma.
Yep. And then finally, thank God for this woman that was on Facebook
Huh.
talking about women's hormones. And I'm like,
Which she does now.
which I do now. And I was like, yes, that's me. The fatigue, the irritability, can't sleep at night,
Wow.
moodiness, all the things. And so I ended up buying a hormone test from her.
Okay.
And I almost had to be like, what? It's not covered by insurance? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, this is an investment. I just quit my job, but we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
This is going to give me the answers that I need. And it did. And it did.
Wow.
And it showed that I had stage 3 adrenal dysfunction. My cortisol wasn't even on the graph.
Oh my.
It was like, it's like my body wasn't even making it. And she's like, I don't even know how you're surviving right now. I'm like, that's how I feel.
Wow.
So it was really bad, but it did give me a lot of answers. And then from there,
Yeah.
I just kind of dug a little bit deeper and deeper and tested my gut and tested my minerals. And it, that was I guess the aha moment, the hormone test that I was like, oh, there is a different side of health.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just had this recently with a client. We were just talking about this, and as men age, they lose testosterone, and all the men that are listening out there, I'm a strong advocate of you going to get your blood work checked. They can at least get that part correct and tell you like what's your testosterone level, talk about your different levels of your cholesterol levels, and even get into deep. But that story is really, really cool because it kind of goes against like, you always see the memes and the images of people wanting these quick fixes and all these different things, and they line up to get all these drugs when you did it like naturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you talk a little bit about your pattern of healing internally, and it's just beautiful. Did you have your kids at that moment in time when you're going through this process?
Oh yeah, I had all 3.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How was that? Like I can only imagine how difficult that was. Can you share like a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was extremely difficult, not only physically but mentally and emotionally too, because they're kids. They want to go to the zoo. They want to do all the things, and I didn't have energy to do them. And a lot of times I'd be in bed for 2 or 3 days and I couldn't get out of bed. And so my husband was very supportive, and he just kind of took over and was like, Mom can't do that today. Or I'd always have to cancel plans. They'd get really, really disappointed because they'd get really excited, and then Mom couldn't go, and then that made my heart melt. Like,
for
I
sure.
just felt terrible.
Yeah. Wow. Well, kudos. What's your husband's name? Give a shout out to your husband.
Rob,
amazing, great dad. That's awesome. You've talked a lot in our conversation already about alignment. You said that a lot already. What does that actually mean now to you? And like, how did you come into understanding what that word truly means?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it took a couple of years to know really what I was aligned with, because it's like you do the things that you think society, that you think you should be doing based on society, right? You get married, you have the kids, you have the job,
the white picket fence.
Yep.
Yeah.
But does that internally make you happy? Does that light you up? Because it wasn't for me. Like I just felt stuck. And so it took time for me to figure out what made me happy.
Yeah.
And I did work with a mindset coach for a little bit, and that helped me tremendously because and I love watching your stories because
Thank you.
it, I remember all the things that, she had
Yeah,
told me in the beginning, like you need to take time for yourself.
for sure.
The more
You
time you
just
take for
posted something.
yourself.
I saw that, and you were like, I think you said something. I have to go to the gym, and I just quick
Yes.
messaged you, and I was like, no, you get to.
Yes.
And that simple switch, y'all, and those of you that are listening, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, is just so vital to our subconscious and who we are and how we're building ourselves up. Because I always say this too, Amy, is like you can never. Everybody's like, oh, it's a bad day. It's not no damn bad day. You have bad moments.
Yep.
You just don't have the tools yet in your toolkit or your tool belt to align yourself to overcome those patterns. Like breathing is like you go back to like everybody wants to go to the doctor to fix their problem when you did it internally. And I love that. I want to go into you talked formally. You were like you're a bodybuilder now. Give us a little bit about. In fact, you just did a photo shoot. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
Tell us a little bit about that whole story. And I think you had a little travel difficulty on the way. Kind of share that with everybody.
Yeah. So, well, with bodybuilding, I mean, so I've always been into fitness, and I've always wanted to do a show, always.
Yeah.
And I never thought I could. And because, I mean, my health, I was having kids every other year, and my health was really poor. And I was like, there's no way my adrenals could handle me doing that type of show. And last year, for the first time in 20 years, I felt optimal, like completely optimized, great, thriving. And I watched a friend go through that transformation.
Yeah.
It was about 9-month transformation. And I said, I want to do that. And I believed I could. And so I started training last April, and my first show was last November, and I won.
Oh, wow.
And then I did another.
Was it local?
It was not. Well, yeah. Where was it? In Illinois?
Okay, so Midwest.
Yeah, Midwest. Two of them were in Midwest. So I won that one, and then I did another one 2 weeks later, and I won that one.
Okay.
And so now I'm training to do my national show this year.
That's awesome. Aspirations to get a pro card, or
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome. I commend you immensely. When I was in the modeling industry, I would watch what I ate and all the details, right? The macros and the carbs, and God, I look this way, and I know where you're going and what you've been through. So I commend you. God bless you. That's amazing. You said you talked about functional medicine gave you answers, right? Kind of walk our listeners through what those first answers looked like. Maybe start on paper, and then maybe how it went into your body, because you talked about how you're just like aimlessly scrolling, and oh, she's amazing, I need to follow her, and you found that. Kind of give us that, break that down a little bit.
Sure. So as far as like finding functional medicine, yeah. So I mean, I watched her for a while. It wasn't just bam, I'm going to order this test. I mean, I watched her for a while, and she has a great personality. I mean, I'm still to this day I follow her. And you kind of just get that know, like, and trust, right, from watching someone every day and seeing the testimonies of other women. And I mean, she kind of had to build my belief, because my belief was I'm a nurse and I work in conventional medicine, Western medicine, right? But functional medicine, I mean, once I started to realize that it's just a Band-Aid. Conventional medicine is a Band-Aid. It's not getting to the root cause of why your hormones are imbalanced in the first place. It's blood sugar issues, it's gut issues, it's mineral deficiencies. I mean, stress, all the things. And so, once you start digging deeper and deeper and deeper, I mean, then I got a gut test, and I realized that I had a parasite and H. pylori and dysbiosis and leaky gut.
How did you manage to get the gut test though? Like, what was that aha moment that you alluded to earlier? Like, what was it that you're like, I need to, like, did someone tell you that you had to do that, or like what happened?
I worked with her, right? And she recommended a lot of things to help heal my adrenals, because I was in stage 3 adrenal dysfunction. Then I found a practitioner on Facebook who was an adrenal coach, like an adrenal fatigue coach, or
Okay.
he was a doctor. He was a naturopathic
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah.
And I hired him, and he's the one who recommended the gut test. I also did a mold test, severely
A what test?
mold,
Oh.
mycotoxin test.
Yeah.
So I had severe mold toxicity.
How does that happen?
Well, in 2012 we rented a townhome, and we pulled away as we were leaving. We pulled away the refrigerator, and there was just all black mold.
Black mold.
And I was sick a lot. When I was pregnant with him, I was sick a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it stayed. So then I also did a DNA test.
Okay.
And so I have a gene mutation that does not allow me to detox mold. So it's like the combination of those two.
So they kept stacking,
Yes.
right? And then you kept figuring out more. It was like putting a puzzle together. But I mean,
Yes.
kudos to you, because how many, like, even I bet you any listeners that are out there, like where would you tell them if they're feeling some of the things that you did?
Yeah.
Where should they go, Amy? Like, what should they do?
Yeah, great question. This is what I do, because all the things that I struggled with, and I just didn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I do free calls for people, and I do an assessment with them.
Good.
And I ask them certain, number of questions, and talk about their symptoms, and then I make recommendations, like what testing should we do first?
For sure.
Yeah, because that's really what's going to get to the root
Yeah.
of why they're having the symptoms in the first place.
How scary, though. Like, literally, how scary. I'll just share a vulnerable story here really quick. For a while, I was struggling with what you were dealing with, but then I went and got a sleep test,
Mm-hmm.
and I found out that I had sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
So I sleep now with a CPAP machine. I know my listeners know that, and but it is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So kudos to that medicine. So kudos to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say this. Dive into what conventional medicine missed. Like, what did
Sure.
they miss?
Yes.
Yeah, I know
I
you want to go
love this
there.
question.
Yeah, I know you do.
Well, they missed. Well, I had a lot of gut issues, and so conventional medicine told me that I needed a colonoscopy, an endoscopy. They diagnosed me with IBS, which what is even IBS,
Wow,
right?
wow,
They
yeah.
put me on Prilosec, which then worsened my symptoms. I mean, it was just endless. And so what was
That's
the
okay.
question that you asked?
Yeah, no.
What did they miss?
Yeah,
Okay.
what is conventional medicine? Yeah,
Yes. So they missed H. pylori, because when conventional medicine tests for H. pylori, they're looking for high amounts. Whereas when I test for it, if it's present, we treat it, and and they're symptomatic, we treat it. So they missed leaky gut.
Oh, wow.
So leaky gut can lead to autoimmune conditions.
Yes.
Which is what
Yes.
I have. And so they missed that. They missed stage 3 adrenal dysfunction. Doctors don't test for adrenal dysfunction. That was causing a lot of my issues. Same with my thyroid. So I just put a post out here yesterday about thyroid. It's not just your thyroid. If you get diagnosed with Graves' disease, Hashimoto's, it's not just your thyroid. It's a lot of underlying issues like sluggish liver and
Wow.
gut dysfunction. And so they missed my hormone imbalances. They missed PCOS, even though I had an OB.
Tell us what PCOS is.
So PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Oh, okay.
And it can cause insulin resistance. It can cause a lot of inflammation in the body. It can cause infertility. It can cause a lot of things. And I did my own research about it, in 2014, presented it to my doctor, and he just looked at me and he's like, you don't look like you have PCOS. You don't have PCOS. That was it. There was no testing. There was nothing. And so when I had that Dutch hormone test, she's like, you have PCOS. And I was like, that's what I thought. And so of course they had said, because I had the most horrific menstrual cycles. And I mean, it would knock me out for 3 days. And they said, you can go on birth control or you can get a hysterectomy. Those are my options.
And there are a lot. I've had clients that have gone through hysterectomies, and there's more deeper lining issues, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Wow. You guys hold it. All listeners, you heard it here on Framing New Heights from Amy. Amy, I want to talk. Well, you obviously work with women. Bring up how women are often told everything's fine, while their bodies are just screaming otherwise. Because this is exactly what you kind of gone through, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So blood work, it's just a fraction of what's going on in your body, like a small, tiny fraction.
Okay.
So, and of course doctors are going to be like, it's just very surface level, right? With blood work. So I test minerals. And so I test the hair, and 99.9% of minerals are in the hair and the soft tissue. So when you're getting a blood test for magnesium and potassium, you're only seeing 1% of that.
Wow.
And the thing with mineral deficiencies is that minerals are in charge of detoxification, blood sugar balance, adrenal function, nervous system, digestion, making stomach acid. I mean, they're in thyroid, in charge of everything. It's like the foundation, right? And so, and the other thing is nutrition. I mean, and I'm sure
Yes. Preach though. Go.
Right. No, I mean, your doctor's not going to tell you how to eat to balance your hormones.
But doctors legitimately have maybe 2 hours of training in nutrition, but then you go to a family doctor or your doctor and they're telling you what to do. I'm like, I could probably give you a dissertation on that piece. It's interesting that you said that, but finish your thought though. That was, or were you good?
I'm good, but I do have something to add to that.
Please add. Yes.
So my husband, I had been telling him for the last 3 years that he was insulin resistant because his fasting blood sugar was in the 90s, and it kept creeping up. And so finally this year, his A1C was 5.8, and his doctor.
What should it normally be for men?
Less than 5.6.
Okay.
So 4.2 to about 5.6. Okay. Or I'd like to see 5.4.
Okay.
4.2 to 5.4. And so his doctor said, hey, your A1C just came back, you're 5.8, you're pre-diabetic. And I asked Rob, I said, well, what did he tell you to do? And he said, to watch my diet. I said, he gave you zero guidelines, like nothing. He's like, no, he just said to watch my diet. And I'm just like, thank God he has me, who's like,
sure.
An expert in nutrition.
Yeah.
But what does everyone else do?
So what's changed then for him? Like, what have you done differently then for him through this process?
Yeah. So I taught him how to eat to balance his blood sugar, and that's what I do for women too. Gave him a workout plan, gave him macros to follow, and then put him on a low dose of tirzepatide.
Tell the audience what exactly that is.
So tirzepatide is a GLP-1, and a lot of times we hear about Ozempic, right? And all the symptoms.
I ironically are getting these random texts about Ozempic, and I'm like, why are they texting? Anyway, okay,
right.
Go ahead.
But I'm sure you've all, the so-and-so's on Ozempic and they lost their hair and they're nauseous and they can't eat and they lost all this muscle. Well, sure, if you take too much of a medication or of anything, it's not a good thing. But when we take small doses of a GLP-1, very small doses, like a microdose, then what it does is it helps sensitize cells to insulin again. It helps to remove the visceral fat that's surrounding your organs, which is causing a lot of inflammation in the body. It works on the brain receptors to regulate your appetite and full signals. It slows gastric emptying so that blood sugars aren't sky high and then insulin comes in. So it's really something for longevity.
How long has that been on the market, and how much research is behind that?
Good question.
Yeah.
It's been on the market for, I think, 10 years. People it wasn't out in the media.
Yeah.
There is a lot of research about, there's starting to be more and more research about microdosing. I don't think there's there hasn't been 10 years of microdosing research.
Okay.
But from what I know, I've only experienced positive effects for myself, health benefits from me, and then also my clients. Like, my clients are like, this was the missing piece.
Oh, that's I love what you shared. I want to talk a little bit about the data, and why do you think women ignore their own inner knowing, even when the numbers say something's wrong? Has that happened to you through that process?
Oh yeah. You just push through and push through and push through,
and then laying in bed then for 3 days, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's feeling guilty for not doing the things that we're supposed to do, and doing all the housework and being a mom, and looking a certain way, and not listening to our body and just pushing through it. I mean, that's how I was for a decade or more.
What would you say to yourself when you were in that process 10 years ago? What would be something that you would say that would have changed in an instant as you reflect and you look back? Like, what would you say to yourself?
Yeah. I would probably say, how are you feeling in this moment?
Mm.
Take 2 minutes to just see, to assess those symptoms that you're having. Are you fatigued? Are you happy? Are you tired? Are you, energized? Like, how are you actually feeling, instead of just pushing through and doing the next thing and doing the next thing, but actually
Yeah.
listening to your body?
Listen to your body. When you're tired, you need to rest. If you don't, your body just shuts down.
It
Like
does.
literally,
It does.
your body's gonna say, "Nope, not today, Felicia. I'm gonna just take out." Like that's just what happens. Um, oh, good stuff here, Amy. I love this. I love this. I love this. Let's talk a little bit about that. Well, I did talk about that. Explore the tension between lived experiences, right, and lab results. Does that make sense?
No, please explain further.
So yeah. No, you're good. Well, how about me ask you this one better? How do you help women trust themselves again? Because they go to the
Oh,
doctor,
sure.
right? And they say all these things are okay, you're pre-diabetic or whatever I was using your husband's for an
Sure.
example, but whatever insert problem. Like how do you get women to like because we're always taught practice preventative health care, that's so important. Hey, Michael, you reach 50 years old, you got to go get a colonoscopy. Like where, like, how do you help women like trust themselves again? Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I do this on a discovery call with women, because we talk about their symptoms and I explain why they're having their symptoms. But then to see, like, for example, if I do an HTMA hair mineral test on a woman and she
How do you do
has,
that, by the way? How does that even happen?
yeah, so I send them,
You
it's
just
just
like,
a little bit of hair.
and they just cut it?
Yep, they just cut it. I send them a little kit in the mail. I send them a little scale.
Uh-huh.
So they cut their hair, a little bit of their hair.
Yeah.
They put it on the scale. If it's not enough hair, they cut a little bit more. It's just a teaspoon of hair. It's not a lot of hair. You're not going to go bald.
All right.
And then they send it to the lab. The lab processes it, sends me the results. I go over everything with them. So if a woman, let's say she says, I have tried everything to lose weight. I cannot lose weight no matter what I do. And we look on her HTMA mineral test and she has something called a calcium shell. Well, what calcium builds up, it's actually it's a last line of defense against stress. And so calcium will build up and it will slow everything down, including her metabolism. It will also cause hormonal imbalances. It will cause anxiety and depression.
Wow.
And so then I present this to them and they're like, oh my God, like this is
Like
how
this
I've
is
been
it.
feeling
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah. Wow.
And same with like a Dutch hormone test, like, hey, your cortisol is flatlined. Like you don't have that curve that you're supposed to have. You don't have that energy in the morning. And people wake up and they're like, I'm so exhausted. Like I've slept 9 hours and I'm still exhausted. Well, this is why your cortisol's so low.
And for me, it was like I had sleep issues. It was sleep apnea. I was that person though. That was like literally I would get like I needed to get like 11, 12 hours of sleep. And I still was just like pushing through. Anyhow, get your sleep study test and do all the other things too that Amy's been talking about, which I highly suggest. Oh, I love this question. I love this question. What's the biggest red flags midlife women ignore that you wish they'd have paid attention to?
I love that. Having to rely on coffee to
I just saw a
get
post.
through the day.
Let's talk about that. If you're like having to self-soothe, I use that terminology, or self gratification. That's another term that I use in my coaching practice. Is if you got to do this after noon, like after 12 o'clock, there's something wrong, y'all.
100%.
Go in on that though.
Yeah. Having to rely on coffee, being bloated all day, every day, that's not normal. there's something going on. You're not making enough stomach acid. You probably have a gut infection. The menstrual cycles that are so painful and heavy that they can't leave the house, that's not normal. Feeling anxious, just anxious and overstimulated all the time, irritable, snappy. That was me with my kids. I didn't want to be that mom.
Short fused, yeah.
Yeah, short fuse. Like any little thing just aggravates them. Like that's not normal either.
Wow. Let's kind of transition here and talk about spirit and sovereignty. You briefly talked about this when we started talking on the podcast. Is what did your spiritual walk look like during the season of untraveling and rebuilding? What was it like? In a nutshell, if you could define it in one word, what would you say it was, your faith journey during that time?
I think it was learning that there's a higher power and trusting it. Just trusting. And at the time when I was healing, it was universe or God.
Okay.
And it was like, do I feel aligned with this next step? And, even if I felt anxious about something, knowing that it was all going to work out and just trusting the process and trusting that everything happens for a reason. And even if I do go through a hard time, it's just there for a purpose. It's there to help me grow.
Yeah.
I always say you either win or you learn.
Are you taking stuff that I teach my clients? Like, this is what I say. If you're losing, you're repeating the same problem over and over and over again. You said a lot there. And, there's two things that I teach my clients, and I want to kind of briefly hone in on this because this is definitely the faith aspect, is spiritual hunger, y'all, is a real thing. And it comes from inside of us. It's our soul. You had talked about dark moments, and you talked about, discovering purpose and things of that nature. Your creator walks with you through those dark moments, especially if you are strong in your prayer life, strong in your conviction, strong in biblical readings and being part of that. I'm on this mission, and I think my listeners know, but I keep repeating because I truly believe you need to do this, because I've seen in the 68 days that I've been in this, because I always ask, like, what are you reading? Everybody tells me all the books that are out in the bookstore and Barnes and Nobles, but no one ever says the Bible. Maybe you should start picking up the Bible and read it. The Bible app, shout out to that right there. I read it every single day. But my whole point to all of that is divine clarity. And we all have these dark moments and these tough times that we all go through. And I shared with this on another podcast. I'm not going to get too much involved with it, but there was a moment in my life, like I said, where I contemplated living. And then the outreach that I reached out to my creator at the time, he just lifted me out of it. So was there a moment where you stopped asking, because this is huge, and I get clients say this to me all the time, why me? And did you start asking, instead of why me, what now? And did that ever happen to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was going through really hard times and I was in so much pain every day and I just was going through the motions, I asked myself that question a lot. Why me?
Yeah.
Why me? Why is this happening to me? But really, now looking back, my pain turned into my purpose. And so now I know exactly why it happens, and I know exactly why I go through difficult times. And so, what was the question that you asked?
Yeah. No, I kind of. So it was the why me, right?
Oh, what now?
Yes. Yeah.
So what now? Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Like, what now? Like, what? And it's, I did work with an energy coach.
Oh, good.
For a while.
Good.
And we would go through, and she would remove the subconscious limiting beliefs, right? And
fix for
yeah. And then I would go through a period where shit would hit the fan.
Of course.
But it was because it was getting me prepared for my next level, the
Strengthening.
next level.
Yeah. But the issue is though, is like a lot of people have these, but then they don't know the process on how to overcome those, right? They keep staying stagnant and there's no progression through those dark moments. And that's what I do. I teach you guys how to do that.
I love that.
So good stuff, Amy. How do you now help women connect back to their bodies? Because you talked about that. And when many have lived disconnected for years and even decades. So if you got someone that's listening right now, they hear all these things, maybe you got to give a shout out for your business. What would you say to that person that's really, really struggling? You struggled for 10 years. A decade is a long time in our life. And I always tell most of my clients are where we're at in age, like we've lived most of our life. Like, what do you say to them? What would you say to them right now?
Yeah, I mean, change does not happen overnight. And I think just that 1% better each day, right? Just trying to strive for 1% better. And
I swear she's a client of mine because this is the stuff that I say all the time, y'all. This is insane. Anyway, go on.
Well, I saw your promotion today, and I commented that I was interested in the 90-day.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah,
we're
gonna do it.
Yeah,
okay,
good.
Because there's always room for growth, always. Even though, yes, I have, I'm a lot better than when I was, but there's always room for growth. I forgot the question again.
That's okay. We organically are just going in, and I'll transition because I did too. So it's okay, and I'm the host. See, we make mistakes here on Framing New Heights, and it's okay to know that. What are 3 shifts? And I'm going to insert men in this as well. And I know you strictly work with women, but I think we can add men as well because I think I have a good population.
I do work with men too. By
Okay,
the way.
good.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 shifts every man or woman in midlife should start making now.
Okay.
Like, what is the now that they need
Love
to do?
that.
Yeah.
Okay, number 1 is gratitude. So for the people that are complaining, why me, write down 3 things you're grateful for.
100%.
Every single day, especially when you're in that moment.
Yeah.
The next one is do something every single day that makes you happy, that lights you up, even if it's for 5 minutes.
Yep.
Because I was so far removed from myself and what made me happy. I had no idea what made me happy.
Wow.
And it took that mindset coach that I worked with to be like, write a list of 20 things that make you happy. I'm like, I don't even know. She goes, does the color purple make you happy? I was like, yeah. She's like, write that down.
Well, it even comes down to a lot of people not knowing what self-love means.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's a lot of what I teach my clients is you have to start, in order to fix the outside, it has to start from the inside. 100%. Right? Internally. One more. You had 2. You give me 2. What was the third one?
Okay.
That was really good. You said gratitude. What was the second one you said?
Oh my gosh.
I put you on a spot, but
no,
gratitude is awesome. 3 things because you had talked about that.
Do something that makes them happy.
Yes, happiness, joy. A lot of people struggle with finding joy. A lot of people do. Do you have a third one? Start doing today.
Okay.
Yeah, to change.
Oh, this is good.
You know what I would say?
There's so many.
I know there are, but I think I would probably add another one, but I think you got to move your body.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Start going and going.
That's my third.
I know you do a big one on walking and moving your body, and I think gratitude too. I want to echo a little bit about what you said. Is when I have my moments in my day, I love what you said about gratitude. Gratitude, even biblically and through our faith, it's monumental. God loves when you tell Him, "Hey, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for letting me wake up today. Thank you for letting me put gas in my car. Thank you for letting me get into this point safely." And today, if you haven't seen my reel already, if you're catching this live, I did get pulled over today. But through the act of God, I got a verbal warning. Praise God for that. Move your body, right?
Move your body.
Like, what would you go in a little bit on that?
Yes.
Like, gosh, that's huge.
It's just, or meditation. Meditation. So for me, movement is meditation for me.
For sure.
Like just going out for a walk in nature. Like I don't have to have my phone or my headphones, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But just getting out in nature and moving. I have all these like thoughts going through my head, and like what I want to talk about this, and I want to do a live on that, and it's just all these ideas pop in my head. Or 5 minutes of just silence, because we're not
Key.
thinking about what we have to do. We don't have people interacting with us. We're not on the phone. We're not scrolling. It's just complete peace.
People don't know how to be still though and be
Right,
present in
right.
their own, because I mean, we watch TV. What are you when you're watching TV? You're usually on your phone or you're engaged in something half-assed. So yeah, being present when you're here.
Yes.
That's really, really well said. Um, any comments? I don't see any comments. Let's think about this. We talked about your three. Food obviously is important. Mindset, movement, boundaries. Those are some of the things that I would echo on top of that. Um, my big coaching aspect is about thriving today. I think I think you used the word thrive on one of your posts. What does thriving mean to you at this moment? What does that mean?
It means that you have energy, you feel purpose, you're happy, you feel aligned, you're present in the moment, you're not anxious about all the things that could go wrong.
Yes.
Well,
what you fix on
self-love.
big, yeah. And
Yeah.
what you fixate on is who you are, right?
Right.
I say this all the time. If you are in shit, you're gonna smell like shit, you're gonna feel like shit, and you're gonna do shit.
Right.
And sometimes people don't know how to get out of that shit. Excuse me if I cussed. Yeah, that's huge. I love that you said that. What would this is a good one. You're gonna like this question. What would 2019 Amy be most proud of now?
Doing a bodybuilding show,
Okay.
having my own 6-figure business,
Okay.
raising strong, independent kids.
Oh, that's so huge. So huge. Yeah,
I would say those are,
that's beautiful.
and just helping as many people as I've helped.
Yeah, providing value. And I would echo
Showing up every day.
well, but showing up with a smile,
Yes.
showing up with kindness, gratitude. I see this so often in being the mindset coach and purpose coach is I just see people aimlessly walking through life, just stumbling with no twinkle in their eye.
Yep.
And for them to even smile or say good morning or say hello, like those things matter. And we are just, I feel like after COVID, it just kind of trickled, like everybody's in their own little bubble. And it's just like, however, I would just add, be kind, be caring. Like when I got pulled over, I used to be this guy. I shared this on my reel today. I used to be the guy that would just be like, why are you pulling me over? And I'd be the asshole.
Yeah.
I was really nice to the guy and just told him where I was going and what I was going. And he was really cool back. So just, I think when you give it out, you get it back.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like that's so big. It's so big. Because if you're constantly having the victim mentality, saying this about somebody else or gossiping about somebody else, how do you think the universe and God is what's going to come back in your life? What you give out is what you get back.
100%.
Yeah. All right. I got some little deeper questions here. All right.
He did not prepare me for this, by the way. I asked him what he was going to
I told her
ask me,
strictly
and
organic.
he's like, "No, I'm not telling you."
Yeah. You got enough water?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. There's a lot of before I get into these questions, give everybody your way of how they can get a hold of you, how they can contact you. If something really resonated on this podcast today, how they can get a hold of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website, you can book a free call on there if you're interested about any of my services or just want to chat about maybe some symptoms that you're struggling with. So my website is optimalhealthsolution.com. My TikTok is at optimal hormone solution. And my Instagram is amy.hormonecoach.
And she'll tell you her story, y'all. She'll be driving in the car with her
Yeah.
kids.
Yep.
She'll tell you.
Yeah, my kids in the back.
You're gonna get authentic, Amy. I love that about you.
100%.
I love that you're transparent about
Very
that.
real.
Yeah, that's really important. So moms, parents, I'm sure you can relate. All right, we're gonna go. This is gonna get emotionally mastery because this is who I am and this is what I'm about. But I'm gonna give you a deep question here. When you are triggered, or when you're triggered, or you feel overwhelmed, let's say it was today, what's your go-to emotional reset? I'll just stop it
Oh, I
there.
love that. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Can I give you an example?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So prior to going to California for this photo shoot, I was extremely overwhelmed
Tell us why.
because because packing is very overwhelming for me. So I had to pick out like the perfect outfits. Like I'm going to be on
Is there
a
such thing
fitness
as
magazine.
is there such thing as perfect though?
No.
Okay.
But like the best.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The best outfits that I have, that I
Yeah.
own. Because I'm going to be on this fitness magazine, right? So I need
What's the fitness magazine? Can you tell everybody?
Yeah, it's called Drop Dead Fit. So it's a digital magazine on
Oh, right on.
Instagram. Yeah.
I had Exercise for Men right there.
Love it. I know. I see that.
I don't even know if that ad or that magazine is out anymore. But that's a long time ago. But go continue because I want to hear this. So what's your
So when I go to
reset?
overwhelm, okay. So overwhelm, stress, anxiety. That's how I felt the day before we left. I just had a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I didn't make room for that. Right. I was still trying to do all the things.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't like, here's 2 hours on my schedule, block it off. Like you're going to pack now. No, I just crammed it in, everything else. I was bringing the kids.
So time management.
Yes.
I teach that.
Yes.
Okay.
So did not do that well the day before we left. And I felt really overwhelmed and anxious. And so I said to my family, I'm going to go out for a walk now. And I went, even if it's around the block, I go for a walk and sometimes I listen. I have energy frequencies that my energy coach sent me.
Okay.
And I'll listen to that with my feet up on the wall and shut my bedroom door and say, mom's not available right now.
Okay.
For like 10 minutes. Or I'll go out for a walk. And that will just that for me personally, that calms my nervous system.
Talk to us about that emotional frequency. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more what that means? I'm not familiar with it. That's why I'm asking. I don't know if our listeners are.
So there, I want to say it's a specific hertz.
Okay.
Of sound frequencies.
Okay.
That I listen to.
Okay.
And she will so what she does is she'll use my voice to find these frequencies based on my voice.
Okay.
And I'll just say my name and then I'll count to 10. And then she'll use that and she'll give me 4 different frequencies. And I usually listen to it before bed, but if I'm having like a really overstimulated day, I will either go in my bedroom, put my feet up against the wall because that takes your body from the sympathetic state to the parasympathetic state.
Yep.
Or I'll just go for a walk and listen to it. And that will just help me decompress because before I would just push through, and then my body would just completely shut down. You said.
That's huge.
But now I feel if I start yelling at my kids, if I start snapping, I'm like, oh,
So you have an awareness now that you are able to catch
100%.
Okay. So that tells me that you have put in work because I've got clients that I've worked with that come from a traumatic background and all they were was yelled at or
Yes.
and then that I was too. Like I came up with a lot of meanness and hatred. If a kid did something to me, man, I wanted to hammer him.
Yes.
But that takes a lot of work and I'm proud of you that you're able to I call it a self-audit to really recognize, and it's like pause. I don't know if you do this, but this is what I teach my clients, but pause, reframe, reflect, and then whatever the next movement would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I like how you do that. It kind of aligns with truth and not your trauma. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because then you're not going backwards.
100%. And I do have to say, because we did touch on this before, but if something bad happened, something frazzled me, like something really bad went wrong, like let's say something happened in my business or I got a bad review, or actually I haven't gotten any bad reviews, but if something like that happened, that would set me back. Like in 2019, that would set me back for days.
Wow.
Now,
So okay, So you can look back to see how far you've come.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of growth.
Yeah, and so now it'll set me back for maybe a couple hours, half a day, and then right back. And then I do a lot of that mindset work, a lot of the gratitude, a
to.
lot of you have
Mhm.
to get you out of that
You do.
place.
You do. Breathing is a big piece too, is when you get to a certain point. If you guys, for the listeners, I don't know what episode it is, but I did an entire podcast on how to properly breathe. Just check my library out. You'll see that. But breathing is because it grounds us and it brings us back to a center state. It's even important after we work out. I don't know if you should know that. You know that, right? Like a breathing process.
No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to that.
Yeah, I will share that, and then hopefully I'll put it
Awesome.
in the
I mean, I know
notes.
there's different types of like
Yeah.
box breathing and
Yep.
that kind of
Yep.
thing.
There's all
but
types.
I didn't know to do that after your workout. I
Yeah.
mean, I can
Because
I understand that because cortisol stays high.
100%. Yeah. So as we're wrapping up today, this I kind of titled Legacy and Impact. What do you want your kids to say about your journey 10 years from now?
I love that.
I'm a father, so I had to throw that one in there.
I want to say, I want them to say, my mom was a badass.
Ah, I love it. Yes.
My
Yes.
mom made every dream that she had come true.
Hmm.
And she juggled it all. And she was positive most of the time, right? Because it's easy to be negative and it's easy to teach that to your kids. But to take something like let's say my son wrestles,
Okay.
a lot of mindset work with wrestling.
For sure.
When he loses a match, to stay positive and to be like, hey, what did you learn from that?
For sure.
Instead of being like, why didn't you do this right? And why didn't you do that move?
The pivotal, because I was in the sports industry for a long time and I coached professional athletes, but the biggest part when I was coaching, I did high school and then I did college and then I did pros, but the biggest, most valuable, and parents, if you're catching this and you're a sport parent, the biggest and most important conversation is after the game, the car ride home.
Absolutely.
What are you saying
Absolutely.
to them? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I try and be extremely positive. Extremely.
Yeah.
Like that's why the coaches are there.
100%.
Oh, that's why the coach. I mean,
good.
Yeah. So I mean, and I coach my kids too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just got kind of suckered in. My daughter is going into 5th grade, and they don't have any 5th grade volleyball teams in the district. So I was talking to another parent because my daughter's in camp, and well, why don't you start a volleyball team?
Love it.
So what did I do? And this has been, I don't want to bore everybody. I'll just go right to the point, but it has been harder than when I was a general manager for a professional basketball team to get something started in a district that doesn't have it. And I'm not going to name the district because anybody that's listening to me personally knows the district. However, anyway, fast forward, we're going to have a team. We got enough girls.
Good for you. Just like,
yeah. But
Congrats.
I put in so much.
You don't
so much
know how
work
much
in.
that I know it's so much work.
It's unreal.
It's so much work. But
if I've told you, I'll share some of the stuff when we get off on the call on the podcast today. But yeah. But my daughter was like, "Dad, I want you to coach," and I was like,
"But that's amazing."
Yeah, I know
that she did that.
I yeah. So I just looked today, and we got like 12 kids, and
awesome.
And it happened because I was able to get an email in the district, which I had to go around the back end to get that, and that's a whole nother story. How are you consciously building your legacy? Continue to build that legacy that you want. What are you doing?
It.
Yeah.
I'm continuing my self-development, self-growth. I wake up every day with purpose. Like, what else can I do? Like, this inspires me to make my own podcast. I've wanted to do it for so long.
We'll talk. I'll show you. Yeah. It's super easy.
Yep. I want to do that. I want to reach as many people as possible and make the biggest impact.
You know what's interesting? It's funny that you said that. I had a random text today from, I'm sure you get this too, because we're coaches, and like random people just send me stuff. And I get this text today, and the text was, and I'm a God-fearing man, and I'm a faith man. And the question was, are you excited to go to heaven? And I had to pause and I had to think about that question for a second. And I said, and my Christians out there are probably going to yell at me for this, but I said, no, here's my reason why. I think God has so much more that I have to do on this earth to provide, going back to what you said, to provide value for so many more people. Like I feel like my business just got started. It's 2 years young. And, even though I've been coaching people in different industries and different formats, but it's just starting to really gain traction. I just feel like I have to give more. Like there's more that I have to
Yes,
give.
there's always more.
Yes, that's what I feel. That's what I truly
Same.
feel. Right. So
Same.
I was like, how do I, like, we're supposed to say as reborn again Christians or followers of Christ, or I don't always just necessarily like to label that because I have listeners from all different dynamics here. But I struggled with that question because ultimately, internally, we're supposed to be like, I can't wait to go to heaven. But I feel like there's so much more. Am I right?
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, how else can I impact? And so I'm actually starting a 6-week coaching program.
Okay.
In the fall for women, because right now it's like a lot of one-on-ones.
Yep.
But I want to be able to put more.
I'll show you how to build a cohort.
Yes.
That's what this whole thing is that I just plugged out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can't
wait.
We'll
chat about that. Yeah, and that's monumental because you can help more people.
Yes.
And have
and still have the time freedom.
And still have the time, and then on top of that, it's not a high ticket cost because my program for one-on-one is high ticket. All right, faith over fear. You ready? Okay. What's one moment where you clearly chose faith over fear? And then I got a second part of that question.
Okay. So that was when I quit my nursing career.
Yeah, that's scary.
And I chose faith over fear because I knew it would all somehow work out, as hard as that was.
And look at you now.
And look at me now.
That's amazing.
It was all meant to be.
Shout out to Rob. Rob's amazing. That's awesome that he has really helped you through this process, because that's big. Because I always feel like it's hard to find
a supportive partner.
Oh, it is. I've had I had a failed marriage, failed relationships, and I can finally say that I found the person that really gets me and understands me, and that's important.
Awesome.
How did that decision that you talked about then redirect your life in a way that still blesses you today?
It was
Stop looking at my notes.
It was the stepping stone to who I am now and the impact that I'm making now. Because, I was just going through the motions when I was working as an RN. I was going through the motions. I wasn't lit up to go to work every day. Yeah. And so the first step was quitting my job so that I could heal my health, so that I could get certified and doing all the things for other women. You know what's interesting? You almost have to. For me, I can remember when I was in a toxic relationship, and it's kind of similar to what you had talked about, just a little different shift, is when I was in a toxic relationship for so long, and I remember going to church on Easter one year, crying to my buddy, saying how miserable I was in this relationship, how unfulfilled. Something bad had to happen in order to get out of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yes. And I feel like if that bad wouldn't have happened, my business wouldn't have happened, where I'm at now would happen. You know what I mean? So it's almost like I'm just telling our listeners, when you're in these dark moments, they're there to build you better, stronger, and to really truly thrive, right? Do you agree? 100%.
Yeah. That was awesome. I want to say thank you so much for being on the podcast today and physically being here. Normally I do all these virtually in different countries, and I've had people in England. I have people all over across the United States. Anyway, last few words. If you are on an elevator, you had an elevator speech to give to someone that, I don't know, maybe it's do you have a hero by chance?
A hero.
Yeah, someone that you look up to.
Not anyone that I can.
Okay.
Me, my future self.
I love it. So you're on the elevator. You see your future self. What do you look like? What do you smell like? Like this may be weird, but stick with me here. But use the 5 senses. Like
I love
those.
That.
Those
That's
are
how you manifest.
Thank you. So say that. Go ahead.
She is more muscular, if you can imagine, than I am now. She has 7 figures in the bank. She is helping thousands of women transform their health through a coaching platform. She has a podcast.
Love it.
She lives on water
That-
in warm weather.
yes, that's the gear that I will be at. I will be in the Caribbean somewhere on an island, or that's the
Yes.
goal that I have, and I love that.
Same.
You heard it all here today on Framing New Heights podcast, and thank you, Amy, for being here, and
Thank you for having me.
appreciate the value. You're very welcome. And I like to end my podcast with this, and I'm sure you heard it. As always, 1% better in mind, body, and soul, and always stay flexed. Come on. Hey!